you tell us your name? Since we were with y'all before. We're a little short-staffed today, but that's okay. We're going to have fun. My name's Tom, and we got with us, I keep forgetting my orientation. Got Tim and my beautiful wife, Lynn, over there, and we're going to be going over some of the lesser-known sightings of Sasquatch or Bigfoot. We'll get to that in just a minute. I wanted to start off today announcing the fact that our website is now live. You see it right there on the screen, strangejourneys.live, and you can find that. I was going to share the screen with you so you could see what I'm talking about. There's our website, strangejourneys.live, and you have access to everything Strange Journeys right there about us, the executive team, the guests we've had, the sponsors we have on here. What's coming up on season 1, our Facebook page, our Facebook group, Strange Friends, and our new YouTube site. So come see us on YouTube. And of course, we are now on Patreon. I wanted to show you that while we're at it. You can come see us on Patreon. And I was hoping it would show us the page with all the... Yeah, that's the main page right there that you see when you click that link. But here we go. Is that it? No, here it is. View page. Well, okay. It's not working for me like I thought, so we're going to close that out. Sorry about that. And but please visit us at our website, strangejourneys.live, and our Patreon page. And if you enjoy what we're doing, then if you want to help us out, then sign up as a patron. We'd certainly appreciate that. So we also have our merch sites where you can buy show-specific merchandise with our logos and website on it. And we also have a new promo video. So if you want to take this is on our website, it's on YouTube, and I want to share this with you real quick. So if you want to tell somebody what Strange Journeys is all about, then you can refer them to this video on YouTube or Facebook page. It is there and you can share it. So before we get into the show, Tim, what's going on in your world?
Lots happening out here in Kansas, just doing lots of fun things. If you see the Strange Journeys podcast page, the Ravenland Tours page, check out Adventures in Learning, which I did yesterday.
Yes.
It's a senior citizens group that meets once a quarter. And they do all kinds of fun things. I only did a 50-minute segment with them, but it went over the odd history of Kansas. Things like, do we have a, wild herd of camels running around the street from a train? Yes, in both accounts. There's 18 of them still. They're about just outside of the Mushroom Rock area in northwestern Kansas, but they've been here for more than 150 years at this point. So.
Well, I remember hearing you talk about that on that video, and you mentioned a movie that I thought nobody had ever heard of. Homs.
Homs.
I thought that was a great movie, and then the final line of the movie. What did he say? I feel like I walk a mile for a camel every day.
Right.
Playing on that old commercial.
Yeah, it was a great movie. McMurray was the name, wasn't it? But sorry, I can't think of who it was anymore.
Gosh, it's been so long. I mean, that was the first time I thought about it.
Right.
Yeah, that was a fun movie.
Yes, it was. So,
well, yeah.
Other things like how Dorothy is really related to Kansas.
Right.
The appearance of Margaret Hamilton, who is from Hays, Kansas, is not on the video, but she was the Wicked Witch of the West. She would make only 5 more appearances in her Wicked Witch that One of them was on Sesame Street in 1973. They said that would traumatize children so badly, Sesame Street never aired it again.
Wow.
PBS, being the company they were, thought that they would make up for that mistake and brought her back a second time. This time they brought her back on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, from being Margaret Hamilton into the costume. She also appeared in 1976 on the Paul Lynde Halloween special to introduce the band Kiss. She said they were the scariest people she had ever met in her life.
Wow, that is so cool. Well, y'all make sure you go back to our podcast page or to Ravenwind Tours page, like he mentioned. He's got that video on there and he goes over that and so much more. Extremely fun stuff to listen to.
Yeah, with all the technical difficulties, we lost about 10 minutes of it, but that's all right because it seems like you could have slowed down a little. No, I only had so much time.
Right. Well, cool. Well, I'm glad it's there, and I'm glad it's available for folks. Lynn, you want to update everybody on anything?
No, not really. No.
All right. Well, I think it's about that time. Let's get this party started. Yes, are you ready? It is that time again. And of course, we start every show when we officially start with the latest sighting. Now, this latest sighting is from YouTube user Jawad Niaz Khan. Now, on his page, he didn't really give much description as to where this video was shot, the circumstances surrounding it, or even when. But he just posted this thing yesterday on August the 7th. So let's see what you think about this. Kind of creepy, huh?
There's something different, especially where it starts there, because you really get that swing going. It's reminds me of being a kid trying to jump off it.
Right. That's what I was. And then Lynn and I were watching it last night, And it to me, it looks like somebody's on that swing over on the side.
Right.
Now, and it's not real clear, like it's almost transparent. Let's look at that again, and we'll do it without muted mic. All right, look there, that one on the left. It almost looks like somebody's sitting in the swing.
Yeah, it sure does.
I mean, the other one's just swinging free. And you're right. I mean, I would try to get it as high as I could and jump out.
Right. Yeah, and it definitely looks like you've got a small person on that swing, swinging as hard as they can there on that left hand side.
Yeah, it does. I mean, that's just kind of wild. I mean, you know, it reminds me, what was that? Yeah, it was called Fact or Faked, wasn't it? Where this team would go around and put paranormal sightings to the test, and they did this one. Not this one, but one similar. Where was that? Where it was a swing set that would just start swinging by itself. And well, it was just one swing. They would actually just start swinging in this playground, and they did all kind of stuff. They put a tent around it to, you know, block the airflow and all kind of stuff. And it reminds me of that. But I'm gonna play that one more time because I want to see if there's anything around the other. I said they zoomed in too quick, but I don't think I saw the ones all the way on the right even moving. No, they weren't, because it zoomed over to it panned over to it for a second.
And I was watching the trees. You're not getting a lot of breeze out of the trees either.
No, you're not.
Definitely not a windy situation.
And I also wonder what that white dot is down in the foreground.
That may be just a lens flare off his camera there.
Yeah, I mean, but it was kind of a strange lens flare if it was. But yeah, that one's kind of wild. We'll post that on our in our sightings playlist on the podcast page. Right. And if you're watching now and you got any comments on it, please comment and let us know what you think about the swing set and what's going on there. We'll have that up in just a minute. Well, it's time for our first sponsor before we go into the subject of the show, and Tim's going to tell us a little bit about that before we get to it.
Our first sponsor is actually a company called 1313 Mockingbird Lane. They're based on Massachusetts Street in Lawrence, Kansas. It is a very small business. They opened back in October. They haven't been open very long. And of course, what happens is we come across the coronavirus and it shuts them down for a little bit. The couple that is in charge of it, Liz and Terry, they both own the company. Liz is a LPN, licensed practicing nurse in a local hospital, and he is a respiratory therapist. They both had to return to work, so their businesses kind of struggled a little bit. It's a very unique store. It is 300 square feet. It is clean. I walk through the door with a flashlight to see the stuff on the back of the shelf. It's such a small store.
Wow.
They're continuing to struggle, especially with the coronavirus out there. Certainly get out there. They've got a website available. I know they do a monthly online sale on their Facebook page as well. You can go ahead and play that video there for us, Tom.
I love the little Godzilla guy at the end.
Right, exactly. And Harry, the owner, when you put that together, said that was probably one of the best parts of that because his favorite toy is Godzilla. By the way,
Wow.
he thought that was the perfect thing to that. It doesn't matter what you collect. If you're into horror toys, comic book toys, the Star Wars, all of that is on the shelf. It's so packed, but he's never going to get out of there. He got a video on Facebook this past week going into the basement of the building, and there are just boxes everywhere full of toys.
Holy cow. Well, if you find yourself in Kansas, go by and see these guys and give them a shout out. Say you saw it on Strange Journeys live stream. That would be cool if somebody happened to walk in and say, "Hey, I saw you guys on Strange Journeys." We would appreciate that. Now, I will say this: since we've started, we've not sold sponsorship. Our sponsors have been, the extracurricular activities that we guys do, and we still have those as sponsors. But I thought it would be a good idea, every now and then to just help out somebody. So that's what we're doing. We just want to give them a spot and a shout out and say, hey, check these guys out and help them out. It's that old adage of do unto others and that kind of thing. So
all of us have been business owners at one point or another. So we know what it's like to be a small business owner and struggle through
yes, we do.
In our environment.
Yeah. We had a comment on the sightings video. Yes, it did. It looked like some kind of ghostly figure on there. Appreciate you commenting. That was kind of wild. And like I said, after the show's over, this will be in our playlist of sightings on the podcast page. So, all right. Now, I do want to say we've been promoting this for a week or two and saying we're going to have a special guest. An emergency came up for our special guest this morning, and I'm going to respect his privacy and not say anything other than it was a valid emergency and he was not able to be with us today. So we're going to have Jonathan Odom of where'd he go? I wanted to show you all this. At least we'll promote this Alabama Paranormal and Bigfoot, who was scheduled to be with us today, but because of an emergency, he wasn't able to be here. And but go check out his page on Facebook. You can find him, Jonathan Odom, on YouTube. So go and check him out when you can. We would certainly appreciate that. And we will do our best when he's available to have him back on. Now, we called this episode How Big the Foot, and we want to talk about some lesser-known sightings. Now, this legend of a large bipedal wild man animal has been around for centuries. From Sasquatch in the American Northwest to the Yeti of Nepal to the Yowie in Australia, scores of people from around the world have witnessed these large creatures. The Patterson-Gimlin film, which we're going to spend a moment on in just a few minutes, of 1967 renewed interest in this amazing cryptid in this modern era, and it has done nothing but grown in popularity since that time. Most of you have seen the TV shows and documentaries about Bigfoot, so we'll do our best to not repeat what you may have heard there. Our focus in this episode is to share some lesser-known sightings that we hope that you're going to enjoy hearing about. Now, you can't really talk about the legend of Bigfoot or Sasquatch without talking about the Native American folklore. And Tim's going to go over some of that right now.
Now, the Bigfoot is a pretty common folklore figure throughout the Native American tribes. In fact, when you get into some of the history of it, those tribes will actually go back as far as the earliest settlers. When they got to the East Coast, talking about the Indians would build 14-foot tall palisades around them to protect them from these hairy creatures.
Yeah.
They're usually described somewhere between 6 to 9 feet tall. Some descriptions have got them a little bit heavier and larger than that. Very strong, muscular, hairy, uncivilized, and often foul-smelling, depending on the area of the country they're from there. Usually living in the woods and foraging late at night. Native American Bigfoot creatures are also said to be unable to speak the human language, using whistles, grunts, and gestures to communicate with each other. In some stories, male Bigfoot are said to be able to mate with human women.
Uh-oh. No, please. No, please.
Yeah,
That's just nasty.
Well, that was for the
Bigfoot are believed to have minor supernatural powers, like the ability to turn invisible. But they are always considered to be physical creatures of the forest and not spirits or ghosts. So there does need to be that, it's an actual physical creature that these people are saying. There's an intertribal Bigfoot that has similarities as well that goes in between different tribes too. So you've got different tribes calling it Sasquatch. In fact, lots of the tribes will use that particular word for Bigfoot and his relation, being generally shy and benign figures that are still very strong. They could be pranksters that take things that don't belong to them, or even kidnap human wives for themselves. But people may even come to their aid at times.
I've heard that.
Bigfoot is considered a guardian of nature in these tribes. These more benevolent Bigfoot usually appear alone or in a small family unit and may exchange gifts or use sign language to communicate with the Native American communities. But the Bigfoot legend from other tribes describes them as malevolent creatures who attack humans, play dangerous tricks on them, or steal their children. They may even eat people. There are some ones that are believed to be carnivores that will actually steal children to eat them.
Right.
These more dangerous Bigfoot monsters, sometimes known as stick Indians or bush Indians, are often found in large groups or even villages, which engage in warfare with the neighboring Indian tribes. And there's a huge number of these things here. We'll just go over a few names here. The Iktomi, which are the Plains Indians, the Wichita, the Kanza, Ka, and the Kickapoo would call them the Iktomi. They got that word actually from the Shawnee Indians, is where that one comes from along the way.
Wow.
You've got the Bush Indians and the Athabascan tribes in Alaska. They would call them Bush Indians up there.
Wow.
You have Choanita, or the Night People, coming out of the Wenatchee tribe. Hairy Men out of the Yukots Indian tribes. You've got the Lofa out of the Chickasaw Indians down the Georgia area. The Oma out of the Hoopa Indians, as well as the Skookum, which would be the Chinook. And then the
Skookum, it almost sounds like a term of affection. Skookum.
Right. Skookum. Yeah, that's a good name, isn't it?
Yeah, Skookum.
Right. Then you've got the, Stehama from the Yakima Indians, which would be Washington State up there in the northeast corner there. And then the Woodsmen, also another Athabascan tribe name from the Alaska Athabascans up there.
And then, of course, what we talked about last week, and you just mentioned earlier, Andrea had found the information on the Stick Indians, the Northwest Coast. So you got a crossover here from the Stick Men to the Bigfoot.
Right.
And a lot of the Stick Men were, related to be 7 to 10 feet tall or more.
Right.
But they weren't necessarily hairy.
Right. And some of the images, though, that she shared with us last week, have actually got them with a little bit of fur in there with a stick stuck in it.
Yeah.
It's kind of different, but
yeah.
maybe they're decorating themselves. They want to make themselves look pretty for
Well, I think it's significant to point out that even though the legends say that they may have some supernatural powers, they're not necessarily supernatural themselves.
Exactly. Some of them, have got a claim they can become invisible.
Yeah.
There's current rumor that some of them are gaining extreme intelligence as well here in recent years.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to be able to draw and make maps, all kinds of strange things that they
exactly. And I was trying to remember. I watched documentary on Prime just last week, and it was Bigfoot and the paranormal or something like that. And they talked about in this one location where they had this building where, for whatever reason, the Bigfoot in that area was drawn to it and to the people, and they would come there and they would leave little math problems out with stones or whatever, forgive me, I'm not explaining it too well, but anyway, they would figure out little things, leave words for it in like Scrabble letters or things like that, or blocks. Right. And then, I remember one specifically, they left some candy for it or something, and they left the blocks out there. And when they came back the next day, the candy was gone. The blocks spelled out "thank you" or something to that effect, or "thank." So they were talking about how intelligent they were. So we're going to go dig a little deeper, but first, I want you about our merch site where you can get Strange Journeys. And you notice we've got some new items up there specific to the last couple of shows. So go check those out. Like I said, you can find those through our website now, strangejourneys.live. Now, no conversation about Bigfoot is appropriate or complete without the Patterson-Gimlin film. All right, that's kind of where it all started. Y'all remember this big fella?
Right.
Or female, let me correct that. And, that's basically where everything started in the modern era. Like I said, I think the two things in every Bigfoot conversation, the foundation of it all, is the Native American legends and the Patterson-Gimlin film. Whether you believe that it's real or not, or fake or not, that's between you and Patterson-Gimlin, but no one can deny that video, that film, is what started it in this era. Okay? Like I said, fake or not, real or not, that's where it all started. And we're going to look at a new version of it here. I say new, a cleaned up version, but let me explain this. The Patterson-Gimlin film, also known as the Patterson film or the PGF, is an American short motion picture of an unidentified subject, which the filmmakers have said was Bigfoot. The footage was shot in 1967 in Northern California and has since been subjected to many attempts to authenticate or debunk it. The footage was filmed alongside Bluff Creek, a tributary of the Klamath River, about 25 logging road miles northwest of Orleans, Florida, California, in Del Norte County. The film site is roughly 38 miles south of Oregon and 18 miles east of the Pacific Ocean. For decades, the exact location of the site was lost, primarily because of regrowth of foliage in the streambed after the flood of 1964. It was rediscovered in 2011. It is just south of a north-running segment of the creek, formerly known as the Bowling Alley. The filmmakers were Roger Patterson and Robert Bob Gimlin. Patterson died of cancer in 1972 and maintained right to the end that the creature on the film was real. Patterson's friend Gimlin has always denied being involved in any part of the hoax with Patterson. Gimlin mostly avoided publicity discussing the subject from at least the early 70s until about 2005, except for 3 appearances, when he began giving interviews and appearing at Bigfoot conferences. Now, this video I'm about to show you is from the YouTube page Neural Networks and Deep Learning. And what it is, their description was this is, excuse me, an upscaling the original Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot footage using artificial intelligence to 4K to get a clear look at the Sasquatch. Also using AI video frame interpolation to up the original frames per second to 100 frames per second for smooth playback and slow motion playback. So let me see what you think about this. And how much cleaner that is?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they stabilized it too. But you can see where the AI is focusing on that. Now, they do slow it down here and zoom in, if I remember correctly. I watched it again just a while ago, and I can't remember it. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a hoax, did Hollywood, because one of these guys, wasn't Patterson involved in Hollywood as a filmmaker or camera operator or something, did Hollywood have the special effects ability to do this in 1967? Now, wasn't it 1974?
Have you seen special effects from 67?
Well,
I don't
yeah.
think they compare.
No, and I mean, you can watch some of the old Star Trek and see, you know, could a human move that easily inside of a suit? Again, but Planet of the Apes came out. Yeah, there it is, zoomed in. Planet of the Apes came out in what, 74?
Yeah.
But they weren't bulky. You know, this thing has bulk. It's big. Could a human move that easily inside a suit? I don't know. But like I said, I was just watching an original series Star Trek this morning. Of course, okay, it's out. I am a Trekkie from way back. So I was watching some this morning, I'll admit. And of course, they were a low budget for their time, and they did what they could with what they had, but it was nowhere near that.
No.
You know,
And you mentioned the Planet of the Apes. In the Planet of the Apes, in the original, didn't they all wear clothes, or they just had on a mask and gloves?
Yes.
Yeah, that's basically what it was.
Yeah, so I mean, this thing is covered from head to toe.
Right. Which they had gorilla suits back then. I mean, you know, we've all watched the old comedies and TV shows where somebody was dressed up in a gorilla suit, acting like they were a gorilla. So, I mean, that's not a debate I wanted to get into on our show because we're talking about lesser known sightings, but I feel like it has to be touched on. I mean, there's more evidence to prove that it's real than to prove that it's fake. Does that make sense?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. But like I said, no deep dive into any Bigfoot or Sasquatch sightings is complete without Patterson-Gimlin film, because that's, like I said, I'm probably running this horse into the ground, but to me, that's where it all started in this modern era. You know, that film, whether it's real or fake, it brought up the Bigfoot phenomenon that we know today. Now, the first one that I want to talk about that, yes, our friend Lewis, that was on the show with us a month ago, says it walks too well to be human in a costume.
Right.
And that was my point a while ago. I mean, have we ever seen anybody walk that easily in a gorilla suit? It just, and it's got the bulk and everything. And Greg commented again. He said, that's clear. It looks real to me. I agree with you.
And you mentioned Star Trek, thinking back about the lizard man from Star Trek.
The Gorn.
Episodes, that thing did not move well at all. It was in that costume.
No. And like I said, if you watch these movies and comedy shows from that era that had someone in a gorilla suit, they didn't move. Like Lewis said, they walked too well to be a human in a costume. It was just, it was too fluid. The movement was a little too liquid for it to be a bulky suit.
Right.
Not to. Have you ever seen anybody? I mean, even today, like in a movie or something, or Saturday Night Live, somebody puts on a fat suit. They cannot move that well. They do it for a laugh and just to be funny because they can't move that well. Right. So. That's my point. So going back to what I said earlier, to me, there's more evidence to say that it is real than to say that it's not. But it sure looks clean and clear. And I posted a short segment of that a week or so ago on our page and in the group. And somebody commented on there. Of course, it is a female. If you look close, you can tell it's a female. Without getting into naming body parts, because we want to keep this a family show, it was definitely a female. Right. So there we go. Now, one of the lesser known, now those of us in this area have heard of it because we're from here, but I haven't seen this on all the big shows, hunting Bigfoot and all this kind of stuff. And that's the Alabama white thing. This is an artist's rendition of what one witness said that the Alabama thing looked like. Again, I don't know. From on the website MagicCityWeekend.com, there's an article called "What is the Alabama White Thing?" by Ryan Denley. He said, is it an Alabama Bigfoot? Does it have glowing red eyes? Does its shape more closely resemble a kangaroo on the head of a cat? Oh, we lost Lynn. Or a kangaroo with the head of a cat? That's what one person said it looked like. So, are we talking this or this? I don't know. But that was one of the descriptors. Kangaroo with the head of a cat. Who knows? Lynn must be having technical difficulties. But he goes on to say, deep in the North Alabama woods lurks a creature that many claim to have seen, which I have a map here. And that's kind of hard to see, but it's kind of a circle with Birmingham to the south, Decatur to the north, and just past Gadsden to the east.
Right.
It's supposedly where the Alabama white thing has mostly been seen. Most sightings of the Alabama white thing occur in a triangle between Morgan, Etowah, and Jefferson counties. People have reported sightings in Walnut Grove, Moody's Chapel, Happy Hollow, and Wheeler Wildlife Refuge, just to name a few. The descriptions that witnesses gave vary wildly. Some accounts describe the Alabama white thing as being 7 to 8 feet tall and covered in thick white fur. Other descriptions of the famous creature paint a picture that sounds more like a white lion. Among some of the more strange descriptions reported, one stands out as the weirdest: a tall white creature standing roughly 7 feet tall and resembling that of a kangaroo with the head of a cat. Despite being gigantic in stature, it's allegedly known for its ability to move extremely quickly. Some have reported that even though it stands on 2 legs, it runs on all 4s. Many people claim that the creature sounds like a woman screaming, and others report a foul odor, like that of dead animals. Okay, Lynn's back. All right. And it fills the air when the creature is around. Whatever it is, the Alabama white thing has certainly caught the attention of many Alabama residents. So, Yeah. Okay. You got kicked out. Well, I'm glad you're back. So the Alabama White thing, you can find stories. As a matter of fact, there's a YouTube video, and I should have gotten it for the show, but it's the YouTube video called something like "I Shot the Alabama White Thing," and it's just a guy telling the story about how he was out in the woods hunting or whatever, and he reported that he snuck up on one and had to shoot it in self-defense. But as yet, there is no body. Now, when I was doing my walking tour in Mobile, Alabama, I researched everything odd and abnormal and strange in this area because I wanted to do a tour, and of course, Tim can tell you the company we were with. We were basically required, I guess you could say, to do a tour based on all things paranormal, not just ghosts. There's a lot of tours out there that do just haunted tours and just do ghost tours, and that's fine. And we had a lot of ghost stories on our tour from downtown Mobile. But we expanded out beyond that, and we came across a wolf woman sighting in Mobile. Whether you believe it or not, it made the papers. We came across a possible chupacabra sighting in the Mobile area and a couple of Bigfoot sightings in the Mobile area.